Well, hi everybody. I've come on a minute early. In fact, I've been coming on a minute early the last couple of weeks, and then people have said, Neil, you have to say something when you come on early. So I am saying something now that I'm coming on early. The reason I'm coming on early is because I want Facebook and Periscope to let everybody know that I am broadcasting, and then I can get started at 5 o'clock with the actual information. So we are about 1 minute and less than 1 minute to 5 p.m. I hope that you're all well. Hello, Dan. Thank you for watching. I see there's a few people on here. So hello, and I hope you're all having a wonderful Monday and that you had a great weekend and you're all excited to get out there and trick or treat. I'm going to do my very best not to eat any of the candy that my we're going to have 4 tons of candy, 3 kids coming home with pillowcases full of freaking candy. Thank you very much. So, I mean, now if the people in the neighborhood could give them fruit and vegetables, that would be wonderful, but I don't think they're going to be happy with that. Anyway, hi. This is Neil Palacci with the Wealth Creator Company for Women, coming to you from beautiful downtown Westlake Village here in Southern California, and I'm excited to be here, and by the time we come to our next meeting, which is the middle of next month. And so I've got about 8 or 10 or so that are done so far, and it's been a lot of fun. So I've been doing this life insurance series, and I've talked about term life insurance and whole life insurance. And then I talked about index life insurance, a little bit about universal life insurance, and today I'm going to talk about variable life insurance. So believe it or not, there are more life insurance programs. I'm going to talk about one more next time. But variable life insurance is an interesting product. It's been around a long time because I was selling it back in the early to mid 80s. And certainly into the late 80s and 90s. So it's been around a while. It's changed. It's not changed a lot, but some of it has changed. But essentially, what it allows you to do is it allows you to pick investments in your life insurance program. So if you have, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year going into this life insurance program, and you actually want to pick mutual fund like accounts to invest in, you can do that. And in fact, there are mutual fund companies, Fidelity, Oppenheimer, and others, that have created strategic relationships with the life insurance companies, and they've said, okay, as your folks are investing or paying premiums into these life insurance contracts, you handle the insurance part of it, and we'll handle the investment side of it after we've taken our costs out, and after you've taken your costs out. We'll handle the balance that's going to be invested and will be the future cash values in this life insurance program. So you go ahead and you put in your 100 a month, 2, 3, 400 a month, whatever it is. You got your $500,000, $1 million policy, and the costs are taken out. So it's what's called a transparent policy. So they take out the cost of insurance, they take out commission, they take out admin charges, they take out maybe a monthly or an annual fee. So there are costs that are withdrawn from the amount of money that you pay into the contract. And from there, they take the balance. So let's say that you've put in a couple of grand a year for this $500,000 policy, and you're 40 years old, and it costs $700 a year to insure you, a couple of $100 for all the other expenses, and there's $1,100 left. That $1,100 then goes into the cash value side of the account, and you are then able to make a choice as to how you want that money invested. There could be 5 and there could be 25 choices. The variable life marketplace is fairly extensive in terms of the number of choices that you have. It's kind of like investing in a 401k. So you put that money in and the fund will do what it's doing. So in other words, if I'm investing in that same fund but not in the life insurance contract, it'll have the same return on it as what you're receiving inside your life insurance contract. The difference is when I put 2 grand in, if it's a no-load fund, most of my 2 grand, if not all of my 2 grand, is being invested in a contract. There are costs to have the life insurance contract. So your notion of that 2,000 that is not being used to cover cost of insurance, monthly fees, etc., etc. Now, in variable life, the complaints that I have heard from people in the business, certainly from consumers, but people in the business, is that the costs within variable life can be expensive. So when you look at how the contract works, and let's say that you're being asked to buy one of these. Let's say you're interested in buying life insurance, and you're sitting down and you're looking at this variable life illustration. The illustration is showing different returns. Okay, what happens if? And they can show you somewhat of a Casablanca, they call it not a Casablanca, I'm using the wrong word. Not important. But they're looking at different options. All right, we're going to look at this and what happens if it makes 6%. We're going to look at it and see what happens if it makes 8%, or what happens if it makes 10%. And then what they'll do is they'll take, if you're using variable life, they will take the historical returns as well. So they'll do a 6, 8, and 10, but you can also do typically a look back. So what has this fund done in the past? And if we were to apply that, if we had bought this 20 years ago and the returns had occurred over the 20 years that I owned this policy, what would it have done? How would it have performed? And so the guarantees, in fact, they're all but removing the guarantees. So where we talked about whole life a couple of sessions ago, where you've got all the guarantees, premium, cash value, death benefit, etc., in the variable life, you've got very little in terms of guarantee. And saying, well, we're going to let you go into the market and maybe make 8, 10, 12, 15% if you're lucky. But in order to do that, we're also not going to give you certain guarantees. Well, what are they not giving you with variable life, for instance, that you are getting with whole life, just to use a comparison? And by the way, I don't particularly like one better than the other. I think it's all a function of what you need personally, what your risk tolerance is, and so forth. And you can own both. It's not really a competition. I know that agents do that often. They'll say, well, this is better than this, or this is better than this. Nobody should buy this. Nobody should buy this. That's nonsense. What you want to do is just take a look at what your needs are and your risk tolerance, and why not be diversified? Why not buy, if you're going to buy 500,000 of insurance, you could buy 5 different policies, index life, and have 100,000 that I can go back, as I said, 30 years and tell you that people have had, we are going to raise your premium. The performance of this contract series was not what we expected it to be. And as a result, we are now going to pass some of that cost down to you. So they're going to raise that premium. So there is or paying less upfront, but then it's catching up to the costs due to increasing interest rates or whatever the reasons might be. And variable life kind of works like that, in that if the returns inside the contract are down, you could have insurance costs that go up, and therefore you could receive a letter in the mail that says, and that's a risk that can occur with variable life. In fact, it can occur with variable life, universal life, and universal index life. It cannot happen with whole life, different contract. So one's a fixed premium contract, the other three are not. So with variable, you've got the risk of the investment portion, the cash value portion of the contract, because you're investing it in those separate accounts, those mutual fund-like accounts, and you have the risk of changing costs within the contract that could affect the contribution that you may have to make at some future point. And you've got to look at that risk-reward ratio for you and determine what makes sense. What makes sense for me? And what's my future going to look like? Because things look at 54, I'm 54. Things are going to look a lot different at 74, and please God at 94. So assuming I need insurance that long, what would work best for me in that regard? And remember that it is insurance. So there's a lot to consider. And variable life is, as with most life insurance contracts, except for term insurance, quite frankly, is complicated. We talked about term insurance, and it's basically, here's a premium and pay me if I die. And if I don't, in 5 or 10, 15 or 20 years, you don't have to insure me anymore, because that's our deal going in. And with whole and variable and index and universal, you've got a lifetime type contract there. Whole life is guaranteed, the other three are not, but your potential greater return, some advantages to those different kinds of contracts. So when you're being shown variable, look at 5%, look at 6%, look at the 8, look at the 10, it does 5 or 6%. What is it going to do in the future? Because it can actually run out of money. And unless it has some internal guarantees that says, yeah, but if you continue paying this minimum premium, we will maintain your death benefit, you could end up, in fact, without any cash value and with no insurance at a time where you're not insurable. You gain 20 pounds and you now have diabetes, and now you're uninsurable and your insurance is about to expire unless you pay some large amount of money in order to stop that from happening. So you have to be careful. And most people do not understand that some of these contracts do not have what they call a no lapse protection. They can in fact lapse. Now if you've got a no lapse protection, that's great, but it just means that if you continue to pay the premium, even though you'll have zero cash value, you'll have the death benefit until age fill in the blank, 80, 90, 100, whatever they tell you it is, or for a number of years, depending on what the contract says. So again, most important thing, as I've said to you in the past, have a good experienced insurance agent, somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that is familiar with all the different products and not just one type. And don't be frightened, scared, whatever, Halloween words that I'm using today of all days. But don't be concerned about buying multiple policies. You will pay an extra policy fee for each policy that you have. So it is a little more cost efficient to have one, but you can't have more than one type of contract in the same policy. Other than you can have, let's say, whole life and term, but you can't have universal life and whole life and variable life and index life in one contract. You can usually add term to any of those other four contracts, but not the four contracts mixed. So I hope this was helpful. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. As I always say, connect with me directly on my phone. You can text me or call me at 818-606-7327. You can email me at neil@thewealthcreatorcompany.com. Please check out neilsdeals.com for things that are going on in the world of deals, or add yourself to the mailing list so that you can find out about those things that I find out about, that I pass on. That's Neil's Deals, neilsdealz.com. I hope you have a great week. I'll probably be back on tomorrow to talk about something, almost as interesting as this. I know that this was mind-blowing information. Dan, you're welcome. Have a happy Halloween. John, Nick, Dan, thanks for coming on, and I will see you all soon. Love to all. Bye-bye.